I swear, sometimes I feel like I'm picking the products with the hardest names to pronounce just to mess with myself. Most people, when they see the initials IP, understand that to mean intellectual property. In this case, though, that is what I am going to use, with the exception of once at the start and once at the end, to refer to this pen from Kaweco. I am, of course, referring to the Iridescent Pearl Limited Edition, here too referred to as IP. This pen seems to be pretty popular, and I can see why. The material, as you will see here in a bit, does a spot-on pearl impression, and in true Kaweco form, I have yet to find a sport that I didn't like. It's like they chose a pattern that worked well, and just stuck with it. Well, I mean, unless your name is Phil, and you have gigantic hands. Sorry, Phil, this is a good pen, and it's your fault for being a giant. That's just how it is. Before we continue, let's talk about Patreon. See this dog? This is a dog with a face that says, "You are doing that thing with the camera and ignoring me again." For as little as $2 a month, you can help make it up to that dog by contributing to the Dog Treat Fund. The link is down below. Click it before I start playing that stupid annoying song from the ASPCA commercials. You know I'll do it. This time around, let's start with the unboxing. Wait, isn't that how I normally start these pen reviews? Anyways, on the front we have the Kaweco logo, and a hint of the iridescent nature of the material to come. The front flanks show the company location and website, and, well, that's pretty much it. Kaweco kept the packaging simple on this limited edition, and I'm a fan of it. If anything, I feel a little guilty for not ordering more things from Chalet to fill the box that this came in. One last honorable mention on the box. I like the inclusion of the Kaweco logo on the end of it. It reminds me of the finial of their pens. You know, I'm actually going to feel really bad if I'm just now noticing this, and this has been a thing the whole time. It's kind of a bad thing to be a pen reviewer and oblivious at the same time. Not good traits to have. Anyways, as we move further into the unboxing, we are greeted very quickly by the pen in a simple plastic sleeve. No other documentation or instructions, just the pen. And, I mean, hey, it's a double broad nib. Of course it's a double broad nib. First impressions, holy crap, this is a good-looking material. It is also a completely different aesthetic than I normally go for. I mean, if you look at my characters in Destiny 2, I tend to do the, look mom, I'm homeless routine. And this material reminds me, I see hunter manes that are flashier, but not by much. That tangent aside, this is a familiar shape with familiar accoutrement. On the finial, we have the Kaweco logo in a silvered plastic, and on the stern, we have Made in Germany. Opening up the pen, we see why I'm okay with not having an instruction booklet. The pen comes with a cartridge of blue in the pen body, and the pen is pretty much plug and play at that point. If anything, I like how this pen plays on the push the red button mentality that a lot of us have, and in this case, being straightforward is a good thing. Now that I've got that put back together, let's take a look at the key metrics with this and a couple of others. For comparison, we are putting the Sport up against the Fire Blue Lilliput and the 1911 Large. Capped, the IP is 9mm longer than the Fire Blue, but it does come up almost 35mm short when compared to the 1911 Large. And weight-wise, it is the featherweight of the three, coming in at a capped weight of 11 grams compared to 23 for the Fire Blue and 25 for the Sailor. Uncapped, the Sport is now 13mm longer than the Fire Blue, but now it's only 23mm shorter than the 1911 Large. The pen is now also a comical 7 grams compared to 15 on the Fire Blue and 17 on the Stormy Seas. And finally, the section is more comparable to the 1911, with it being only 2mm shorter and 1mm narrower at the narrow point. So how does this pen write? Well, it is a super smooth double broad that has me feeling like I made the right decision in picking it up. The time from installing the cartridge to the time of doing the writing sample was only 25 minutes, so for the line width to start off this bold is always a welcome sight. Also, out of the box, it was a nice feeling to be able to get right into writing without having any hiccups on the nib. You could argue that it would have to be a real screw-up to mess up a double broad nib, but I've actually had that happen. I mean, it just does happen. Surprisingly though, that hasn't been the case with any of my Kawecos, but it has happened with pens that both had JoWo and Bock nibs, so no brand using either of those nibs is really safe from the potential of a bad out-of-box nib. So if we look at this pen from the perspective of a complete package, what we get is actually a really good value. Sure, this pen will eat through the ink quicker than most thanks to being a double broad, but for a user that just wants to get going with their pen immediately, $30 for a smooth writing experience with this pen material and a cartridge of one of my favorite blue inks to get them going? Yeah, sign me up. It's that simple. And that's going to do it for our look at the Iridescent Pearl Kaweco Sport. If you like that or found it useful, hit the thumbs up button, get subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one. Why is that such a hard word to say? Millimeter, millimeter, millimeter. Say it and enunciate it. That is all you must do. Do or do not. There is no millimeter. Well, I mean, not in the US anyways. We still use inches and feet and sixteenths, because that is very uncivilized.